that comes to mind that of like the people involved in CRO, one of the other like project managers essentially would really be in charge of the documentation. This is something that maybe that'll be my takeaway going further into that. But we document pretty ruthlessly inside of Airtable is what we use. But that's a great start, is like we already are documenting on the client's behalf of like, so they're clear of not only what did we learn as a result, and what are the recommendations and next steps, et cetera, so that it can apply to the broader marketing. But that should be the start of great case studies, is using that data of like, we won for the client, like, and I can probably even pull up an example, but like that pool supplies client I talked about back in like March, and we're kind of winding down with them as the season's winding down. I think we had like 12 different wins. And so I just shared an Airtable with them of like, here's all the 12 wins. Here's literally everything is in Airtable, so they don't have to go do analysis somewhere else. But that's going to be the start of our case study, basically, is just like, I'm a fan of like over detailed case studies. So it's as like transparent as possible. So it's not like we increased by 200%. And it's like low number is great, kind of a thing. So I just oversharing, but it all starts with documentation. And if you don't do it while you're testing with them, it's just going to be so much harder for the client's behalf, more importantly. But then for your own case studies, it's going to be harder to go back and to, look at your annotations in Google Analytics or wherever you're looking at that. It gets to be harder to actually remember that. And with the new Google Analytics, it'll eventually be deleted if you don't, store it, kind of a thing. So over document, you will thank yourself long term for sure.
I love that you're also showing your client continuous value.
Absolutely.
And especially, like, I think you touched on it earlier about the new client showing wins, kind of showing your work, as it were. I think that's something that can really build trust, is that level of transparency.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I mean, we all love to win and make them more money, but I often will tell them, losing is important, and we're going to learn sometimes more than we learn when we win. And so it's not just like necessarily
which
like
sounds so which
clients don't want to hear that, right?
No, they don't want to hear that. What? We're going to lose and it's going to be a benefit? Please explain that to me.
We're going to lose so much in such a graceful fashion. It's just going to be awesome. And no, but what I say is that you can't just like run one test and say like, okay, this is a global hypothesis across all of your site now. But after you start to like, and I should be able to show an example of like tag how we the level of depth we go into with like summarizing results, because that can start to apply to your email marketing, to your ads. You can start to say like motivation principles work better on the site as a whole, or maybe product pages. So we should start to do more of those as a result, because we've gotten 4 tests that have won now, and we've tested all these different variations, and motivation tends to work best. So that can start to be more of a global hypothesis that it's not just for CRO anymore. Now it's marketing, right? So.
Right. Perfect. All right. So I will throw it back over to you to wrap it up, Ryan. This has been really great. Thank you so much to our audience for getting engaged. And if you're watching this and the recording, thank you so much for sticking around and getting lots of insight. And Ryan, take it away, please.
All right. I will share that Airtable as an example. So should be able to see Airtable here. And so this is that pool supplies clients. Let me maybe zoom in a little bit, but we just use Airtable so much and group it so many different ways. But we filtered this here. Let me remove that. So this is filtered only by winning tests. So these are all ones that have won over the year, or at least status. Let's see here. I think this would be outcome. So these outcomes are wins. So these are so then we can start to see as a roll up, right, the uplift change with that. So we can see ability tests have had the biggest uplift change. And I think this is a different field, but we can see the monthly contribution. I'll show you a different view. But the point is that we can see all then the ability tests from like, we tag all tests from like a psychological principle. I'm not a psychologist, but at least we can start to understand, like, if we go off of like BJ Fogg's behavior model of like motivation, ability, and prompt, like those are kind of the buckets we used for like what tests fall under that. So we can say these are the tests, that ability test on the homepage that we've run. And we have the hypothesis, the uplift, the learnings. Obviously, this is probably what the client's going to want to look at largely, but then everything else where we can look at things in like a Kanban view, the
Wow.
timeframes and all that. So everything is here. And the role of Airtable and why we use it like this is um, to be able to do our analysis and our meta analysis inside of Airtable and not to have to go to another platform to then make next action steps essentially. So that's just kind of a glimpse of how we use that. And we were originally using like Google Sheets and Asana for a while,
Ooh.
but it's just so
Yeah.
easy to add images and things into Airtable and to share it and to work collaboratively as well. So.
Wow.